Well, hello there. Are you lost? Better come with me. I will lead you through these dark woods. Trust me. The terror draws near. Foul things everywhere. Creeping things emerge. Entities of evil surround No need to fear. Trust me. Don't worry, traveler. You have nothing to fear. For here, there is nothing but fear. Welcome to Nothing But Fear, the place where the moon laughs cruelly down upon us in this forest of horror, the place where your fears are exposed. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Haunted Clearing. It has been a long time since the fire pit was alive with flame, but here it burns again as before, and it seems we've never been away. Not that old Danielson up in the castle has been maintaining things for us. As you know from episode 1 of season 1, he is a rather cloistered, lazy character who doesn't seem to maintain much of anything. Indeed, I seem to be the only one keeping this little place clear of brush and overgrowth. And creatures. No, I didn't mean any of you, creatures though you are. I suppose I should have said monsters. Although that too might be an apt description of some of you. But where are my manners? Come, sit by the fire, and let's begin things. But first, let me get the fire started. There we go. I thought what better way to launch Season 2, Episode 1 than to tell actual campfire stories around the fire. Perhaps a trifle ironic and cheesy, but wait until you hear the stories, friends. Up first is a tale that shocked even me when I first read it. One of those stories that can't possibly be true, but is. Let us begin with Smiley Doobies. Not every campfire story is fake. Camping always brought out our playful sides. We liked hiking into nowhere and setting up our tent away from cell phone signals, traffic and smog. We had settled down there after I made a fire, and we sat down talking. "Do you ever have an imaginary friend?" she inquired. Her lines of questions had been getting off track ever since the sun went down. We were alone by the campfire. Embers rose. The logs crackled and whistled in front of us. I breathed slowly, gathering my thoughts. The short answer? Yes, I did. I wanted to leave it at that. Even after years of marriage, I still didn't want to scare her off. She looked at me with her famous, "I need more of that" face. "Care to elaborate?" she asked, or rather demanded. She hated when I drew things out like that. I could tell that it was a battle I was going to lose, so I began again. Yes, I had an imaginary friend. I met him on my way home from school one day. The school bully lived a few houses down from me and pushed me down to the ground. As he walked past me, I heard Jeff, that was his name, tell me to grab the kid's leg. So I did, and the kid fell. He scraped up his face pretty bad. I chuckled a bit, remembering. He never bothered me again after that. I looked at her. Her mouth was wide open. She stared into my soul. After that, Jeff hung around whenever I was alone or scared, like a big brother, a mentor. I couldn't believe I was telling her these things. As I got older, I got bigger, more confident. I winked at her, adding, apparently I got better at talking to the ladies. She blushed and looked away. Basically, I grew up and stopped needing him, so he stopped hanging around. She looked back into my eyes. So, after you grew up, she paused a second, you never saw him again? She had concern in her voice. No, I never saw him again. I met Jenny in college, and soon we were in love. After we got married, we moved to Seattle. We loved it there, and often would walk up and down the hills downtown, just telling stories, like tonight. We bonded a lot on those streets. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my handkerchief, dabbing away some tears. You don't have to tell this story if you don't want to. She offered me that olive branch that she knew I couldn't accept. She was so sweet. One night, a thug came out of an alleyway behind us while we were walking home. He didn't believe us when I told him we didn't have any money. I heard that voice once more, and it told me to attack the mugger. I stepped forward to grab the gun, but in the struggle it fired, and my wife got hit in the chest. The mugger ran off while I tried to apply pressure to the wound, but it was too late. The twinkle in her eye faded to glass. I was crying by then, remembering how she died. So then, what happened to Jeff after that? She asked, already knowing the answer. I call him Jenny now, I replied, throwing the empty bottle into the fire. I bet that had you questioning the reality of what you hear, at least a bit. Certainly the kind of boyfriend we all want to snag, am I right? I'm wrong, and thankfully. I think before we contemplate the ramifications of that story too long, we should move on to the next tale. Actually two, featuring the superb voice talents of Olivia Steele, my fellow VA from Chilling Tales. Get ready for the Canadian flair for things with these two Jasper National Park campfire stories by Feethand. I am currently spending several weeks in Jasper National Park as part of my field school. For those of you who don't know where that is, it's a small town located in the middle of the Canadian Rockies, right on the border of British Columbia and Alberta. It is known for its remote peaks and inaccessible regions. My group was staying at a set of cabins just outside the small village. I am currently writing from the top bunk of one of these cabins. For the first part of the week, my classmates and I have had the pleasure of having several different park staff visit us and tell us about their jobs. We've met with rangers, firefighters, and medical personnel. Name a cool job, and we've probably met someone who does something similar. My classmates and I also have met some of the indigenous populations whose ancestors used to inhabit the park well over 100 years ago. While these people's presentations about their jobs and what they do for the park was immensely fascinating, it doesn't compare to the stories they told us off the books around the campfire. As is tradition in parks, each presentation was finished with some campfire tales and a few bottles of whiskey. Some of the things that these people have disclosed blows me away, and it sends a chill down my spine thinking about it even now. There is so much unknown in the wilderness, and these people have some tales to tell about exactly that. Some of these tales were told with the explicit warning to keep it on the down low, so many names will be changed. I feel a little guilty disclosing some of this to you guys, but I feel it needs to be mentioned. At least a warning. The following paragraphs are paraphrasings of a story told by Mike, one of the head forest rangers for JNP. After some prompting, and maybe a little gin, he opened up to us. As you kids know, I've been a ranger for just over 20 years. I'm the most senior boy, and my God, have I seen some things. Some good, some bad, and some I can't quite put my finger on. I've found lost kids alive and well, seen tourists get mauled by bears, but none of that comes close to the spooky crap up on Snake Indian Pass. I didn't tell you kids in my talk about the pass because it was the scene of a grisly massacre just about 75 years ago. 2 different tribes of Indian fought up there, and one tribe got bloody massacred, elderly and women too. People say since then they've seen some real messed up stuff. My old pal, before he retired, said he saw some 10-foot beast walking on its back legs. Says the indigenous folk called it a spirit beast or a skinwalker of some sort. I can't say I saw something that scary, but I definitely had some weird stuff happen up there to me. If you folk want to hear about it, I guess I could tell you. All around the campfire nodded in agreement. Well, in the winter of '96, my partner and I got called from some local bases that resided right at the bottom of the pass. They said there was some sort of fire going on up there, or something. Being in the park and all, we take calls like that pretty seriously, and we loaded up the snowcats and went to talk to those folk. When we got there, they were right spooked. Said that they'd been having some banging and yelling at their doors at night, but when they checked for tracks, there were none. Figured after they seen a fire up in the pass, they better get the rangers involved. It kinda confused us a bit, because the two sounded irrelevant to one another, but the folks swore blue and black that they were connected. Sure enough, right at the top of what we could see of the pass, there was some lights, or something, that looked just like a fire. Being early in the afternoon, the partner and I figured it smart we rip up there right away to check and see if there was anything to be done. After checking the map, we didn't think we would have a problem making the 10-kilometer snowcat ride back before dark. Mike stopped and took a nice long draw straight from the bottle. Boy, we were wrong. Partner and I spent a cold-as-hell night upon that pass. Nearly froze my toes off. When we got back, both of us swore never to go up there again, unless the boss really wanted us to. And even then, I wasn't sure I would. There's some screwed-up stuff up the Snake Indian Pass. With another swig, he continued. We had been sledding for about an hour when the snow started coming down real heavy. Nothing in our weather report said anything about snow that day, but the high passes are known for erratic weather. We were both new hires and hot rods, so we trucked on to the top. Just about an hour later, we made it to what was the location for the fire, but there was nothing there. We noticed a bunch of footprints leading off further up into the pass, and figured it was our deputy to see who was messing around up on the pass. We were a little worried it might have been a lost hiker shooting off a flare trying to get some help. Anyways, by this point, the snow was coming down, and it was getting dark, so we really put the pedal to the metal. Right as we crested the pass was when everything started to get screwed up. It's dark as all hell, and all we could see was whatever the little snowcat light showed us. Snow was coming down so hard, it looked like we were traveling at light speed, like in those Star Wars films. Out of nowhere, what looked like a human came barreling out of the trees and tackled me right off the cat. I hit the ground, and the cat shut off. All I could see was what was being illuminated by my partner's light he kept on. I was right spooked at this point, and hollered for my partner and ran after him. Right at the edge of the light, I kept seeing something sprinting across, just on the edge of my view. My partner obviously saw him too, because he took the rifle off his back and sat back down on his cat. When I made it up to him, he was shaking so bad I could hear his scope clacking on his goggles. Every couple of seconds those freaks would come a little more into view. The only way I could describe them was banshees of some sort. You could barely even tell their feet were touching the ground, they were running so fast. On top of that, they didn't make a noise. No snow crunching, no panting, nothing. That was the worst part. I'm not a God-fearing man, but I was praying to whatever would listen. We made it off that mountain. I managed to knock some sense into my buddy, and we hopped onto his cat and rode it all the way down. The entire way down, you could see those freaks just on the edge of the light. I don't know why one of those things tackled me off the cat, and I don't want to know. All I know is we went back up, and all we could find was my cat buried in the snow. No footprints or anything. In our case report, we ruled it the damn Northern Lights, and we both vowed to avoid that place like the plague. Those homeowners knew exactly what we saw up there, and they didn't say a damn word to anyone. By this point, Mike was looking pretty tense, so we asked him about some of his best memories of the park, and we left the story as is. I'm writing this from my bunk in disbelief about what Mike told me. Our class has some other guests coming tomorrow, and I'm wondering if they will be as candid after the bottle about the weird stuff going on in Jasper. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Well, I think we have established that both campfires and Cascadian forests equal a rather unsavory mix that either bring monsters to life or cause people to see strange things. At least, unlike Trevor, Michael, Franklin, Teresa, and Ralph, we won't have to fend off a crazy Mick from Crocodile Dundee or never return here again. Because I know what you are all going to do. Meet up with me back here for Season 2, Episode 2. No Jedi mind tricks used in the divining. Keep a weather eye on your digital mailboxes and social media for my next invitation to Season 2, Episode 2 of Nothing But Fear. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out my fellow voice actor Olivia Steele's work, if you haven't yet, for even more horror. However, I am 72% certain that after tonight's stories, some of you will have a hard time settling the tremble in your fingers long enough to type out her name. If you have such a struggle, don't call me. I cannot type things through screens. Old Danielson probably has some skill at that, though I wouldn't ask him. Till next time, listeners. Forgive me if I haven't allayed what dread you brought with you into this wood. Not that there is much I can do about it anyway. For here, there is nothing but fear.